He doesn't charge you.
It is 9 o'clock. We have a quorum. If you would stand and join me in the pledge to the flag, and if you care to, a prayer led by Greg Sturwall. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this great country. We ask that you bring our servicemen and women home and in your time, be with their families as they wait their return. Guide us and direct us our decisions today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Have a full house this morning. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of the July 23rd Commissioners Meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the claims.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any questions on the claims?
No.
They were presented to us for review. I had some questions. Have received answers. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is there any unfinished business that?
None.
Missed one?
Yep.
Move on then to new business. We have Mr. Ayers with a public hearing for a maximum speed limit on county roads 800E, 725 north, and 850E. At this time, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to address the speed limit? Yes, sir.
Mike Roberts, 7365 North 850 East, Brownsburg. As you know, I was here a while back asking for a speed limit change in an area that has become severely populated with cars. And what we would like to do is see the speed limit down to 30 mile an hour at the least, you know. The traffic has even gotten worse since Senator Brownsburg is now being dug up down to the middle of Brownsburg. So we still have trouble with the traffic due to 86th Street bringing all the traffic down through our area down through there. So it's become a major problem for us. So if we could get the speed limit down, it would sure help all the residents in that area. It is a 16-foot wide county road that is, and right next door on 700 is 3 lanes. It's 30 mile an hour. So whatever you can do to help us get that speed limit down, we certainly would appreciate it before somebody gets hurt really bad. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to lower the speed limit to 35 mile per hour on County Road 700 North, 725 725 north, 800E and 850E, and 725 north and 750 north. Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing.
Yeah, the ordinance is to take it down to 35 miles per hour, which we believe is appropriate. 30 miles an hour is more suitable for what a strictly urban area. I think 35 miles an hour is a good number for this road. It's currently posted at 40, so this is dropping it to 35. The sheriff and I have talked about that, and he feels that will help him with enforcement. I agree with Mike. I mean, they're seeing an increase in traffic through there that they don't typically see, but I don't believe it's appropriate to drop it as low as 30. I think 35 is a good spot for it to be. With the traffic counts we've taken through there and speed studies show that the 85th percentile, which is what you usually base a traffic a speed limit on, is right at 40. So they're traveling right at 40, but a little bit of a drop will help with enforcement.
Enforcement's the key.
So I would recommend approval at 35.
And the ordinance number is 2024-20.
Madam President, if I might, we felt like that the sheer fact we are lowering it, that people will notice that we're noticing, that you've asked for us to notice this. We felt like that would call it to people's attention, and Sheriff and John can work accordingly, so. Are you ready for a motion, Madam President?
I am. I had a question for John. Didn't you say that you've spoken to Brownsburg and they're willing to,
Right.
part of it is in the town of Brownsburg and they're willing to lower
Yeah,
theirs?
verbally, they have agreed to lower it in their section because if we do and they don't, it's really kind of pointless. So they've agreed to do the same thing in their sections. Obviously, we have no control over them, but that's what I have talked to their town manager and their.
I still think 35 is too high for that area, but they bring it to their attention. You know, it is still too fast for down through there. But if it brings to their attention and makes enforcement a little bit better, maybe. But there's nobody that goes 40 mile an hour down. I mean, it's nobody. You know, I mean, we live there. We see it, I don't know what that is, statistics, we're pulling, 16-foot wide county roads, hardly even get your man. It's just outraging stuff. Just because of all of it, 700's closed, you know, it's just.
900.
I know you're, but 35 is the best we can, that's what I mean, there's no way to get it down to 30.
But I'm recommending 35.
But is there a way of going to get it down to 30?
My recommendation is 35.
Do you think that'll help, Sheriff?
I think 35 will help. You know, John and I talked about it. Mike and I talked about it as well. And I can see it at 30 or 35 personally. It is a small road. There's a lot of homes on it. It's a very tight, narrow, winding roadway. He's seeing an increase of traffic like they haven't experienced in many, many years. And so I know, as John and I talked, we had our speed trailer out there. The average traffic is traveling at the posted speed limit. So obviously there are outliers. There are many people that are traveling over that, but the vast majority of people are traveling at 40, at least as the sign was capturing their speeds. So do I see it as a problem? Absolutely. Lowering the speed limit will help us, yes. I think I said this the last time, you know, there are many neighbors down there that have posted their own speed limit signs in their yards of 30. And so I know that's their expectation. I honestly, I can see it both ways. You know, a reduction is needed, whether it's 30 or 35. I'm open to that. You know, if it is 30, obviously, you know, we talk about it. You know, I'm not going to stop someone from 4 miles an hour over the speed limit, right? So, as we drop at 5, is that enough of a reduction? And I know that's something that Mike was talking about.
And we talked about this being temporary, that
Yeah.
when the other arteries are open, that we would go back to 40?
After everything opens back up, gets back to normal in a year or so, we'll look at it again and see what the speeds are and decide if we want to change it back.
So we still could get it to 30 if, get it down to 30 mile an hour. I know your recommendation is 35.
Right, the traffic right now,
like the sheriff
from the
said.
counts, from the studies show, the traffic counts don't lie. Their average speed, the 85th percentile speed is 40 miles an hour, which is typically how you set speed limits. So I think we're taking extra bit, so just going by that rule, we could leave it at 40. So to give a little extra measure of careful, precaution, because it is narrow and a lot of turns, and I think dropping it 35 is the appropriate change.
Have you made a motion
Madam President, I move for approval.
of the recommended 35 mile an hour?
Yes.
Is there a second? I think the motion dies for a lack of second. So would you like to bring us back another ordinance lowering it?
Tell me what you want me to do. Do you want to, or what?
Bring it back at 30, if you would, please.
And that means re-advertising it, and it'll be,
The way the ordinance is written, it says prohibiting operation of any motor vehicle along public roadways in excess of the maximum speed limit set forth below, and it says 35 in the ordinance. So do we need to re-advertise, or can we?
You have the public hearing to take public input and make a decision based upon what the testimony is. So I think you can go ahead and amend the ordinance and adopt it as 30. That's why you have public hearing.
thank you. Then I would entertain a motion to amend the proposed ordinance for the maximum speed limit of being 35 to 30.
I'll move.
Second.
Is there further discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll have to rewrite that.
Thanks, John.
I can change it. I think I have it in Word, so I can change it for you.
And you'll bring it back to us for signature.
Thanks, Bob.
Oh, you're welcome.
The next item is a public hearing for a maximum speed limit on County Road 900 South, and from what I read, you're not ready for that?
Well, again, if we can change it because of the hearing, we can. We had originally requested the ordinance to make 900 South from 39 to Tudor Road 50 miles an hour. After I wrote the ordinance, it came to my attention that the easternmost section of that coming off 39 is actually posted at 35. We can't find ordinances to back up that or to back up the other, back up 50 miles an hour. So we need to modify it. Obviously, it's not our intent to raise the speed limit anyplace. So I've revised the ordinance to make it 35 miles an hour from 39 to 100 East, and then 50 miles an hour from 100 East to Tudor Road. So that's different than the ordinance that was advertised. It's just taking a section of that road and making it a lower speed limit than the original ordinance.
But the road in question is the same.
It's the same section of roads.
Let me take the public testimony, see what testimony.
Okay, at this time, I would open the public hearing for the speed limit on County Road 900 South. It was advertised for 50, and is there anybody who would like to speak on the speed limit on County Road 900 South between 39 and Tudor Road?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
My name's Mike Price, live at 8749 Watkins Lane, which is off of 900 there. John and I talked, and it's great. We want to reduce the speed limit out there because there's a lot of traffic there. And there's probably, I'm gonna guess, 80, 100 homes on that eastern section. Driveways coming out on 900. And it's a concentrated cluster of around 70 homes in 3 different streets. There is a sign for the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit coming right off of 39, and then one about a mile west. I don't know if this is the form for this request, but I would suggest we put in a couple additional signs in the residential area where population's concentrated. There's a lot of blind hills, it's changing elevation, narrow bridge, and there's a lot of high-speed traffic that goes through that. So if you consider that, I'd appreciate it. But again, check both at your own speed limit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding speed limit on County Road 900 South? I will close the public hearing.
This was my mistake because I did not drive it before I wrote the ordinance to see that it was posted. But it is posted 50 miles an hour at 100 east, but we can't find an ordinance to back that up. So this will clean all that up.
So, I don't have an ordinance in my packet.
Here's the correct one. There's 4 copies of one with the, there's multiple copies there. That shows it broken down into the eastern section and the western section.
This has your recommendation, John.
That's the recommended one.
I think you're good. If you want to, you're good.
Yeah, I think that's the one that just has 50.
John, who's responsible for the signs then?
We'll work that out, how many signs we need.
Madam President, I have a question. So John, is the speed limit request or your recommendation from 100 to 39, that be 35?
Correct.
And then from 100 west be 50?
Correct.
Okay, I like that.
Because like he said, there's several homes there, there's several subdivisions, small subdivisions that feed into
Down
that
the road
section.
is,
The character is different there than in the west of 100.
are you ready for a motion, Madam?
Yes.
Madam President, I move that the speed limit be adjusted to, or rename that 35 miles an hour from State Road 39 to County Road 100, and it would be 50 miles an hour from County Road 100 to Tudor Road.
I'll second.
Okay, and that is ordinance number 2024-29. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is Roland Smith on the Gobble Gallop. If you would, state your name and address, please.
Yes, Roland Smith, 1403 Sarah Way, Avon, Indiana. I'm here to gain approval for the 2024 Gobble Gallop event for the mapping of the race. I've brought my predecessor, Ms. Jessica Leopard. She is going to help me go through whatever questions you may have regarding to the race scores.
This is usually a very successful event.
Yes, ma'am.
You've provided a good outline map of the route of the race, and in the past, you've contacted the different police agencies and all, and so it's pretty,
We need to approve this. I'll make the motion.
So I'll second the motion.
any questions? All those in favor of approving the request for the closure of certain roads for the Gallop,
Gobble Gallop.
Gobble Gallop,
Yeah.
Say it.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And good luck. Thank you. Run off the calories before you eat the turkey.
Right, exactly.
Andy Ferguson with the Bethesda Christian School Cross Country Meet.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you come forward, please?
Yes, ma'am. I can.
State your name and address, please.
Yes, ma'am. Andy Ferguson, 9856 Blue Ridge Way, Indianapolis, but I am in Hendricks County. I'm the athletic director at Bethesda Christian School there in Brownsburg. In the past, our cross-country course has been contained in our campus without crossing any roads, but due to construction on our campus, there's a possibility that we may have to extend our cross-country course across 800 North, utilizing some of the land that the Hendricks Community Soccer League uses for their fields. I've checked with Mr. Sadler at the Sheriff's Office and Paul Greider at the Engineer's Office, and they both said that they had no problem with what we wanted to do. On four different dates for home cross-country meets, we would like to have adult volunteers in reflective vests with signs, intermittently pause traffic on 800 North so that cross-country runners may cross 800 North. The meets take less than an hour usually. We wouldn't be stopping traffic for that entire hour, just periodically as runners needed to cross the county road. I've got a map that I can provide to you. Yes, that is, I have more copies. I didn't realize you had them. Showing that white line showing where the runners would cross.
I'm fine.
I am too.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Any questions?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Good luck
Thank you.
and be safe out there.
We will definitely will. Thank you, and please excuse me, I've got to get back to school for other responsibilities. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Swally.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Town of Danville has requested an easement for their sewer. I'd like to introduce Kent, with Banning Engineering, so he's doing all the engineering. We did go through the Fair Board and got their approval. I've been on site, and their approach and their method of doing it, I don't see anything detrimental to the county's property or anything, the sign or anything, but I'll let Kent explain.
Yes, good morning. I just kind of a little brief history as to what we're doing here. We're doing the first phase of a sanitary sewer line. We started doing a study back in 2018 for the town of Danville, took an inventory of their whole collection system, performed a hydraulic model, and then we developed some priority projects that's part of that master plan. That was adopted in 2020. And then so part of that was either we're assessing the condition of the existing lines for conditions itself, and then also for growth and capacity in those lines. And so this section along 200 East was identified for capacity and growth scenario. And so this was this line basically goes from New 36 and 200 East. As you can see, they've been digging through there, long culvers and everything. And then what we need to do then is cross 36 and then tie in to at the south entrance of the fairgrounds to the existing line that cuts through. And then also we're gonna do a second leg to the northeast, kind of by the roundabout. And then we will continue a new line as a second phase, you know, as time continues for that. So that's why you see two little pieces there.
I believe in the future, when we get to phase 2, you'll be back asking for more because it becomes a little more challenging on that route when I was on site.
We thought while we're there, we have the contractor there, we're already gonna cut across East Main Street. We might as well do the second leg and get over there, so that way we can continue north.
So I heard them ask at the Fair Board about the sign. This won't.
Yes, we won't touch the sign that's there.
And they give you their approval of it, and if we give you our approval, then you have to go to the
Building Corporation,
building
yes.
corporation.
Question, Madam President.
Yes.
So are you crossing, what's the road on the east side of the fairground?
200.
200? Are you crossing 200?
No.
Oh, you're not, okay.
So parallel to the north, I believe, in the future.
You get you to dig a tunnel there to, pedestrian travel.
But this helps with all the commercial growth that's happening in that area. Also, obviously, there's a lot of residential that's going on as well, and this will help if there's plans for the fairgrounds to grow. This will help with that capacity.
I had some requested changes which they were willing to adopt, and it's been reflected in the opinion. So we're in good shape.
Move for approval.
Second?
There's nothing for us to sign, right?
Well, you're kind of making a recommendation, the building corporation, that's been reviewed by you and you're okay with it. Correct.
That'll be our next and final step, I believe, is their approval, and they will be signing the contract.
There's the signatory.
Correct.
So have you scheduled a meeting with
Not yet, I was waiting until we get through each step to get
all
them
those
together.
in favor of approving the request for easement for sewer growth for the town of Danville, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan,
Good morning. Thank you, sir. So I am seeking your approval today to potentially expand W.S. Gibbs Memorial Park. We have been presented with a non-negotiable purchasing price of $720,000 from the Gibbs family. This purchase is time sensitive, so I'm currently working on 2 appraisals to get the fair market combination price. From my conversation with the realtor on Friday and our appraiser, developmental price per acre is reasonable when those comparables were made. In 2021, as you're aware, we made an offer to the family combination of $570,000. Essentially what this purchase would do is it would add 20 acres of property to Gibbs Park. This is our highest visitation park. It would also provide a long-term solution and asset for our admin building and welcoming center. This would be accomplished through our $100,000 land acquisition budget line, along with an additional appropriation through the council with our non-reverting capital. We have about $705,000 in there. It would be coming back to request an additional appropriation in the future for either a renovation to the farmhouse or new construction. So I'm essentially asking for your blessing to purchase that property if they come back at fair market value. We do have a little bit of money in our park foundation if it goes over that they may be able to contribute. But again, from my preliminary conversations with the appraisers, I think that price seems reasonable to them. I'll know more early next week, and then obviously can revisit this with the council if you approve today.
so really, all we need to do is a consensus.
Okay.
This is something the park board has voted on. It's number 1 goal for myself, for our department and the park board. I did present this to the council, as I've told you, over the weekend. They obviously didn't vote on it, but it seemed like they were supportive of the purchase. And I'll have to go back to them pending appraisals. I'm getting my ducks in a row to revisit their meeting, have the posting information to Nancy for the additional appropriation. I think that's at the end of August for your September meeting. So very time sensitive with the family. I think if we don't act quickly on this, the opportunity will pass in short time frame. So
Ryan, is the house on the property vacant now?
it is vacant, yes. The kids are maintaining the grounds, but no one is living in the house, correct? Yep. The property has a fairly nice barn on it that could become an asset. It also has a lean-to barn, which I don't think that would probably be removed. The silo could become a unique park feature, I think, in the future, but very unique opportunity to expand the footprint that makes sense for, I believe, our office to be in that location because it's highly visible as opposed to a alternative location at the parcel that we currently have.
Madam President, I think the silo is a Bloomfield silo.
Okay.
And if it's Bloomfield, you can't tear it down, I don't think, unless you, because it's got polychlorinated biphenyls, that's why we're not allowed to use them anymore.
Then it might not become a park feature.
Just paint it, just
Yeah,
paint it,
paint it.
paint it, leave it alone.
Yes.
Yeah. Paint it, leave it alone.
Hendricks County Parks.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It can be a signature.
A landmark, yeah. It's good. If-
Well, I don't believe it's a
So if
brimstone.
everything would come together and this becomes your office or the parks office,
Sure.
what kind of timing are you looking at?
So that would depend. We would need to do a study on the house to find out if that makes more sense to reno the house or new construction. I do not have a timeline for you today. The council asked me for a general price, and I'm not prepared to provide that information or estimate today.
And how many acres are we talking?
20,
It is 20 acres.
actually, it says 20.01.
And
There is a small area of tillable land, and it's with Dan Searcy. We have some idle fields in crop lease with him now. But obviously, the park board, the executive committees met out there. That is the ideal location to have it. It's highly visible, like I said, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to expand the park, I believe, so.
And it looks like some of it is wooded, a lot of wooded area.
It is,
Park
yep.
as well.
And that connects to Walnut Walkway Trail,
Okay.
so we could expand through there. Right now, that chunk of woods is full of invasive plants, so you'd get lost in that 5 acres almost immediately, but I think we could manage that and open that up in a quick time frame.
The only reason I ask about the timing, so on, is to get you out of that building you're in.
I understand.
So that
It's
that
not
can
that
be
we don't
torn
like
down.
you.
I had that discussion with him when Brian was briefing me on this project, so he's aware of that.
Yes.
And if I could have made this happen in 2021, I most certainly would have.
We tried.
We were led to believe that it would happen, and it just didn't with our in-person meetings, so.
Thanks.
So
Consensus?
do we have a consensus that you have our blessing to move forward? If you get all the.
Opportunity.
Yeah,
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
kind of exciting.
It is, yes.
We have a couple of appointments and Mila advertised for those appointments and received one for the Clayton Liberty Township Public Library Board. And it was in our packet.
I would move to appoint Leon Archer to the Clayton Liberty Township Public Library Board. Can we do these together, or?
One at a time, but
second. Someone going off, is that why we're?
someone resigned.
Oh,
And so, in his application, he said he had a very strong interest in serving on the library board and enjoys the services that's provided. Did you second that, Bob?
I did.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. The next one is for an appointment to the redevelopment authority.
No.
Well,
excuse me.
the Danville Public Library. We had one application for that also, who is currently a library board member.
I would move for reappointment of Don Helton to the Danville Center Township Public Library Board.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
It's good that these people want to serve. It is, yeah. And it probably is getting harder and harder
It
to
is.
find people that want to serve. So, anybody's listening, listen up. We need you to serve.
The next is appointment to the redevelopment authority.
Madam President, can you explain to me what the difference between the redevelopment commission and the redevelopment authority is?
I can't personally explain that. Nancy or Todd might be able to.
I defer to our attorney.
I need to speak to my son.
I might have something on the website.
It's all, there's different paths for different financing, and they have different jobs.
Okay.
That's
Do
about,
money.
So how often do they meet?
Not very often,
As needed.
as needed.
Not like
they
Not
just
often
meet,
at all.
just meet as needed.
Right.
And if I remember right, this person applied once before
Yes.
for an appointment to something, and we didn't choose him for that particular appointment, so.
I'll move for Anthony Gary to be appointed to the redevelopment authority.
I'll second, and this gentleman lives in the northeast part of the county.
Yes.
Whose place is he taking?
So are there any, all those in favor of appointing Anthony Gary to the redevelopment authority, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
It says that the authority issues bonds payable from lease rental payments paid by a redevelopment commission. So the commission is the one that they can purchase property, sell property, and then,
The RDC can.
yes,
Okay.
and then the authority signs off on the bonds for their lease payments.
Okay.
Looks like this gentleman had a good background for that, so that's good.
Well, and by applying the second time, he has a genuine interest in being involved and serving, so. Comments from the floor? Yes, sir? If you would, state your name and address for the record.
Okay, Jim Murphy, 10726 North State Road, 267, Brownsburg, Indiana. I'm here to sort of talk about the recent annexation of land in the town of Brownsburg that took place to the rear of Highland Springs and part of Highland Greens. And the way that this came down, nobody knew what was going on. The only clue that some of the citizens had was a posted sign that there was going to be a hearing at the town of Brownsburg. So a number of communities got involved in this. And what came about, thanks to Phyllis, Dennis, and there's a resolution that, according to the research that was done by somebody else, was signed in April of 2005. And this resolution of all the towns along the Ronald Reagan corridor that was supposed to impact what they call area of common interest. And I have the resolution. It was found in the archives here by a researcher. And part of the resolution says, again, the area of common interest is Ronald Reagan corridor. That the individual plan commissions, in order to maximize for these route for comment, any petition or development to the ACI that requires a hearing, rezoning, review, etc. So none of this was done, caught the citizens by surprise. One gentleman stepped up to the plate in Highland Springs, and in 17 days, he got people organized. We met with Dennis, had a discussion that took place early on. And a lot of this confusion could have been tempered. Also, the county is our government in the rural areas. It's not the town of Brownsburg. So we're getting imposed upon by an outside source, Brownsburg in this case. So all I'm asking is that this resolution gets reinstated and whatever that takes to do it. If you folks put it on your agenda and get together with these other parties that have signed it and say we're going to reinstitute this. Because again, you're our representative. And what I see impact here is would the county, if they wanted to rezone this land, allow the use to the back of a residential subdivision? And the answer, I would hope, would be no. You have to have some other type of buffer so that the influence of the county gets imposed upon the town or the developer. So if you would please try to get that on your agenda. I could have some other people come and speak that really did a fantastic job of doing research on this.
When you say reinstitute this resolution, are you just saying reaffirm that it is part of the Ronald Reagan Corridor Master Plan? Or, I mean, if it's there and hasn't been taken away,
Well, put it back in business. Hold meetings that are called for yearly. You know, I've read it, and there's supposed to be yearly meetings, at least, whatever it is, but nothing's being done. And just take a lot of heartache away. And, you know, you can see where the county allowed these type of special exception uses next to this development, to the subdivision that exists there. And down the road here, this developer owns another piece of land that is not part of the development. It's on the west side of the tracks. And the town of Brownsburg is like the governor's park along I-65. They don't have water. So the town is probably going to be drawing for water in that area, and a water tower, etc. But the town can't afford to go to the Wabash River and bring water in. So just want to bring it to your attention, and whatever you can do to reinvigorate this commission, get it back so the boat continues to sail rather than at dry dock.
you bring up a good point, and I was contacted by probably this organizer that you,
Jonathan Hilbert.
yes, and, you know, I contacted council and he contacted their council, and our understanding is that this is a voluntary annexation from the property owners. And, you know, once it's annexed, then Brownsburg determines the planning and zoning and I personally, my heart goes out to the people that live in Highland Springs and the neighboring communities. I think, Denny, you've been in conversation. We can do what we can as far as this resolution. We can bring it to the front again.
I would appreciate you do it. It saves a lot of heartache. People at least know that there's somebody there that's looking at this and says, well, if this is the county now present, and the county would not allow this, would allow this, just so that people feel that they've got some representation, because we have none with the town. We don't vote for them.
No.
et cetera, et cetera. I almost compare it to an analogy of this is somewhat taxation without representation. Because, affects property value, perhaps, so forth and so on.
So in my response to Mr. Hibbard, I mentioned the Ronald Reagan Corridor Master Plan, of which I have a copy in my desk in there. I think it's one of those things that we all paid a lot of money for, and it's now been put on shelf, and seldom is it made reference to. So your request is reasonable. I think somebody replied to my email. The bill was split up for that study with the county sharing cost and some of the towns. And we're not sure whether Brownsburg paid for their part of it.
Well, I don't remember that it was an issue of who them paying. It was more an issue. There was a couple components of that. This has been more than 5 minutes ago, so my memory's foggy. But there was a couple components of that plan, and one was kind of a overall agreement to follow a unified strategy for development along the parkway, not necessarily property development, but development of the parkway and construction standards and things like that. But then and access controls, things like that. But then there was another part that specifically was a model zoning ordinance, I think, land use that was based on recommended land use along the parkway. And so part of that plan shows what the recommended zoning districts were along the parkway. Now, I don't know if it got as granular as specific uses, but so like in a certain region, and we added the section north of 600. The original plan was from 600 down, and then as we got into it, I think we added the section from 600 north up to 1,000 as kind of an addendum to the Ronald Reagan plan, but it was done at the same time. But it showed recommended land uses along the parkway and established that buffer zone. What I don't remember is that the resolution, I think, that everybody was supposed to sign on to say, yeah, we'll cooperate. I don't remember if all the towns signed on to that formally or not. But even if they did, I don't know how binding that is within the town limits. And since that time, I mean, that was in the early 2000s, 2004 or something like that. So, I mean, obviously the town limits have expanded dramatically since then. So ultimately, I don't want to jump in here, Greg, and throw something at me, but I mean, ultimately, what happens within the town limits is up to the towns, and they can, we signed the agreement just to kind of make sure everybody was cooperating in the same spirit of how this was to be developed, hopefully, so there's some uniformity to the purpose and the use of the parkway through the county, knowing that in the future, it would be split up among several different agencies. How binding that is, I don't know. And then the land use, the model zoning ordinance, model land use ordinance, we all hope that everybody would follow that. I don't know that everybody has, but
Right.
Greg, I don't know.
No, but I can give you this. Pull it up again.
I can do some research, pull it out too. I've got it also, read it.
Would you please, and talk to Tim about it?
It doesn't hurt to bring it back to the surface and remind everybody.
Right. And Brownsburg did sign off on it. This is 7 pages here. It includes all the signatures of all the towns and the airport authority. So everybody has signed on to it at that time. So, there you go, Craig.
And Madam President, if I might, at your request, I attended the meeting. The meeting itself was conducted very well, very fair. I'm not gonna say how I feel about the outcome. But I did come away thinking, and I'd have from our own plan commission meetings, the paradigm of these meetings needs to change. Because as Mr. Murphy said, one thing that would help, the PUDs do it. When they plan a PUD, it shows exactly where the house would be and everything. Well, when it comes to these, those people that night at Brownsburg, they would have felt much more comfortable if they would have had and they had been referred to, the town council had referred the developer to meet with the people, but it's nebulous when it's that way. If you have a scale model, if the developer has to produce a scale model of what it'll look like, this is where the trees will be, the ponds, this is what we're going to put here. It would be specific, the people, it relieves their anxiety, but when you go in there and you got this list of what could go in there, it bothers them. And I agree with that. I don't want to stop development, but the developers want to be in Hendricks County. Larry Scott and I have had this discussion. They want to be here. They need to be here, because I told one lady in Liberty Township, if I could convince them to go to Vermilion County or downtown Anderson, I would, but they won't go. They want to be here. Well, let's hold the rules, make them meet some specificity so that people understand what's coming. Because otherwise they have no idea. And it makes them very uncomfortable. And I understand that. If I don't know what's going to happen, it would bother me too.
And I'll make an additional comment. Eric Watson and I met last week with the town council president of Brownsburg, the vice president, town council of Brownsburg, and the town manager. And we've agreed to continue some meetings going forward just to begin to open dialogue again and to make sure that the county is trying to be open with Brownsburg, and we want Brownsburg to be open with the county as well. And whether it affects things like this or other projects, we'll see, but at least we started that. And that was at our request of them. And it was like 30 minutes of discussion, but it was good.
Good.
So we're beginning, yeah.
Morning, members of the commission. My name is David Wyant, P.O. Box 513, Brownsburg, Indiana. I'm really here just to enforce what Jim had spoke about and really to follow up on some of your comments. The way that was conducted at the town of Brownsburg, 2 council meetings ago, they voted on I-2 zoning for that plot. And that zoning vote went 4-1. And the next vote was for that annexation. And at that annexation line item, it was at that time they told the residents to speak to the developer. Well, imagine that you have that opportunity to speak, but the zoning's already been applied. So there is very little wiggle room in regards to what concessions or what compromises could be applied or be requested by the residents because the zoning had already been approved. So from my perspective, as I watch these things, at a minimum, I would tell you that the town of Brownsburg conducted themselves in bad faith. Because we've already discussed here that we have an agreement, if nothing more than a gentleman's agreement between the town and the county. We're all gonna work together and play nice in the sandbox. Clearly the town didn't do that. Now, there's nothing to stop them from annexing and therefore removing the county's legal privilege to that conduct. But that kind of supersedes and kind of goes around the idea that we're partnering together in good faith. So I'm happy that Dennis, you and your friends and the town and their friends all got together and said, oh, we need to talk to each other. Well, you know, I would suggest and like to reinforce that you folks from your side continue to do so, because it's clear there's a deficit from the town. They don't have any initiative and will to do that on their own. As evidenced by their conduct, they don't seem to want to do that. And to Mr. Murphy's point, there are other lots or plots coming along, the west side, going north along that way, that this precedent's already been established. So that I-2 is already there. Well, why did they do that? They're going to continue to, in some fashion, zone that to that use all the way along that side. It's just hope, I believe that from the residents' perspective, they just like to have some kind of buffer. They like to be back a little ways in regards to distance that didn't abut their lands, that they have some kind of relief in that area. They were not given that opportunity to speak, to address those issues. And they saw in these agreements that this might have been another forum that they were denied. And just going forward, if you can provide that forum, I'm not suggesting that that's going to change anything. But to your point, sir, if we work to achieve consensus, if we socialize that change, there would probably not have been 90 people in that room to speak last Thursday, with 3 different media outlets, 59 and 13 and 6 were all there. It just points to the fact that we have multiple layers of representative government, and in this case, you guys weren't given that chance. It's alleged that the town did not reach out to, be it the planning folks, the council, the commissioners. You guys weren't given that opportunity. So I'm thankful that going forward, you're gonna partner with those folks. Just please continue to do so. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? Moving on then to elected officials. Sheriff? Laura left.
I don't have.
Move on then to staff reports. Mr. Ayers.
Yes, ma'am. First item on my memo has already been addressed. That was the traffic ordinances. Speaking of traffic ordinance, we also had some correspondence last week about trucks cutting through. Not real clear where they're trying to get 75 south and 850 south, apparently all the way between State Road 39 and Old 267.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Google Map is directing them to go that way if they're trying to get from those warehouses over to Plainfield. I don't know, but that's a terrible route.
Yeah, it is.
So, if you want us to, we can post, there's a lot of connecting roads in there, and I can't really ferret out exactly which way they're going, but if you want us to, we can post a no trucks zone, if, for lack of a better word, coming right off 39, coming right off 267. See what that does. I don't know. I mean, if they catch them in other areas, it's hard to pin down what roads they take in between there because it's not a straight shot. But if we post the major stretches, we can do that if you wish and see what that does. And obviously that does not apply to deliveries within those stretches or, during farming times, but it would apply to that for traffic.
Those semis get stuck. They can't turn around.
Yeah,
We had a
Kirk saw one.
picture of one on Joppa Road, I think.
Yeah.
They're over the interstate. They must have taken the road, and tried to make the turn or something.
Cut a little short. So
So,
if you want us to, we can post some no trucks zones in there. I'm proposing one on 875 and one on 850 south. If you want us to, we can do that. I can write the ordinance, or I've got the ordinance written if you want to do that and set a date. It's up to you.
Question, Madam President. So, having driven a semi myself, where will they go if we stop them from going there?
Well, if they're trying to get from the warehouses to Plainfield, which is what I think Google's directing somebody to do, they need to go back to 7.
Absolutely.
So, or up to 40. If we put a sign there coming off 39 that says, no trucks, then I would assume they're gonna find another hole.
That'd be fine with me then.
so there again, we get to enforcement.
Yes. But in the case of that poor sap that was stuck on the bridge, it's kind of hard
That's
to get
enough.
away. So, we can do what you want. Again, like you said, it's enforcement, it's being there at the right time, and we're not gonna catch all of them. And, the pictures that were sent from somebody's ring camera, one of them is, one of the trucks belongs to a local farmer. So, he probably had the right to be on the road, but some of them apparently don't, aren't in that area, so. It's whatever you want me to do.
What do you,
Fine with
Yeah.
posting.
Yeah.
Put some kind of posting. I think that's.
I'm fine, yeah.
I think we have a
that's
consensus,
start.
John.
Okay, so we need to set a hearing date?
September 10th.
September 10th.
So, no trucks posted.
Right.
If you have a farmer that's hauling corn out of there, he is okay to use that.
Yes. And if somebody's delivering in that area, so somebody's got a delivery coming from the truck. That section. I don't remember exactly how the statute reads, but it does give exceptions.
Yeah, I was gonna say also, if you have a property down there, you're a farmer, you own trucks, or you own a business, and you use that property, obviously, you would have to travel that roadway to store your property back and forth forth. So there are several exemptions. I do have deputies have been asked to go down there the next couple of weeks and just observe that area to see how big of an issue is it that we're seeing? Are they one-offs, one truck a day, or is it multiple trucks a day? Maybe, we can't be there the entire day, so it'll be hit and miss, but more than happy, obviously we can enforce it when we're down there and we can catch people if there's a specific time that we're seeing them over when we're not, we can enforce that. So, but there are gonna be several exemptions to it, so they're still gonna see trucks on the road.
If it discourages half of them, then,
Right.
we're good. Okay. Next item. Next item is a discussion about an agreement that Highway Department would like to enter into with a company to automate our Pacer ratings. Right now, we drive all the roads. We have a couple staff members that are trained in doing pavement ratings. So we drive all the roads, 750 miles or so every year, assign a 1 to 10 scale, it's called a Pacer scale, to the roads. And that allows us then to prioritize what we need to pave, what we need to pay attention to. It helps us with our life cycle curves that, you've heard us talk about, heard Kurt talk about a lot, trying to add life back into the roads. All that's based on this Pacer rating and the rating scale and what happens to it from year to year. There now is technology to allow you to drive that with basically a camera in the car, and it takes those videos, and then the company processes it, and they have software that's trained to recognize certain types of distress in the pavement from those pictures. And it's been proven to be pretty accurate. And what it does is it takes a lot of the subjectivity out of it. Number one, our guys are good at that, but still there's some subjectivity. This takes a lot of that out of it, plus it saves a lot of time. The particular software we're looking at also, or the company we're looking at, also has the capability to, in that same drive-through, to identify all our signs and inventory all our road signs, which we need to update. We did that once upon a time, but it's been a few years, and we need to update that just for our purposes. But then also there's an opportunity for some grant funding coming up later this year that would allow us to replace a lot of those, so we need to update that inventory. So we do two things. They propose a 3-year agreement. Doug's reviewed it from the IT perspective, because again, they provide us with the cell phone. There's a lot of stuff in the agreement about the data, who owns the data and processing the data, and our responsibility to maintain, enough bandwidth to receive the stuff. They take it, process it, and send it back to us, or give us access to it. I've talked to Greg about the agreement a little bit. I don't know if he's had a chance to go through it or not yet. That's why it's not on your agenda for signature. We talked a little bit about a couple clauses in there to make sure, like we do in all our contracts, that you have the ability to get out of it at any time. And I don't know that that's clear in that agreement, so we may want to make that modification.
I think we do.
Okay. Did you see anything else in there that gave you heartburn? Have you had a chance to look at it yet? This is last week.
We'll look at it when we talked about it, but I've not really read it thoroughly,
Okay.
John. I'll double check.
Okay.
I
So-
do remember that.
Okay. That was the only thing. They answered a lot of questions I had. That was really the only thing hanging out there, was our ability to cancel. Wasn't really clear, so we put that in there, but, so we're not ready to sign it yet, I guess. I just wanted to bring to your attention that we're looking at it, and I'll get with Greg and we'll have it to you.
So what happens after 3 years?
Three after,
Do
well,
we own anything at
no,
that
no,
time?
it's an annual agreement, but it's for a 3-year
For
term.
3 years.
Right, and then after that, we can sign back up again with them. It doesn't automatically renew after 3 years, so we can sign back up again with them. There's probably other providers out there that have the same thing, and that, like with all technology-related stuff, there'll probably be more by then. We may find something better, we may like this one. I don't know, Kurt, do you want to add anything to this about using Violytics?
So we've been evaluating roads with the Pacer system for doing it every year for probably almost 15 years now. I've really resisted changing anything. We've just been using a GIS system that we drive all the roads. We put the data in the GIS. Then it exports to a spreadsheet that I've created to do all my analysis with. There are a lot of different software systems out there over the years that pretty much do the same thing my spreadsheet does. It's got some more bells and whistles, but I don't need the bells and whistles. But this is a tool that we don't have, and that I think we need. So I'd like to move forward with it as soon as possible.
My question isn't not, I support what you're proposing. I think it's a good idea. It's just was hoping that we would have something physically, you say a camera or something that your folks, when they drive around, they're taking pictures and it's sent the day,
It's just a smartphone.
information sent
It's
back,
basically
so
just an
on.
iPhone.
And I assume we own that then.
I don't know if we own that phone at the end of 3 years or not, but it's an iPhone. That's all they give us to do that. That's all it takes to do it. And then it's more of a, there's not really a mapping product here. It's more of a, they say it's a database that Kurt would feed into a spreadsheet and saying, here's the ratings for each of your roads. Each of your road segments, and I don't know how many segments we have, thousands of them.
So it continuously takes pictures on its own. It's not like you have to hit there.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's taken, in a course of a mile, it might take almost 10,000 pictures. And so it's artificial intelligence, and so the algorithms that compute that need to be done by analytics. And so you're taking these 10,000 images, and it might take the computer overnight to analyze these 10,000 images and spit back the Payzer ratings.
And it's all sent to this company?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think it's a good idea.
And to John's subjectivity point that he made, it will remove some of that. If John and I go out and look at the same road and I say it's a 4 and he says it's an 8, well, one of us is wrong. But
It's usually you.
but if I say it's a 6 and he says it's a 7, and you could go either way, but this software will take that out of it.
That's a good thing.
And it'll be more consistent from year to year. Because sometimes we get surprised at the change in like a road segment will drop. You'd expect it to be kind of the same rate of drop for each segment over the years. And sometimes one will drop quicker than another, and it raises questions, why did this one drop quicker? And sometimes, a lot of times it's legitimate, but this would take some of that guesswork out.
And to that point, that's why I do Payzer ratings every year. Some counties just do them every other year. But our county continues to grow so much that a road can change like that. And at least doing them every year, you've got a snapshot of what the condition was. We do it in the spring. So what was the condition of our roads in the spring of every year? So we've got that all documented.
I think this will help us a lot with that rate.
So you'll bring this back to us at our next meeting?
I'll get with Craig and we'll make sure the language is where he wants it. It's really cool technology. It's amazing what it does. It's really amazing. Couple meetings coming up with NDOT. One is with central office on the 29th. I think Denny's going to be there. We're meeting with them to talk about the roundabout projects down at 39 and 70 and possible NDOT participation. Jake German from Barnes and Thornburg set that up. Lori Maudlin has also talked to central office about that project. I've asked her to be at that meeting as well. So,
Thank you, John.
also, to go along with that, we've had some meetings with the developers down there about moving forward with those projects. And clearly, it's going to be some combination of funding. The end result's going to be some combination of funding for the developers in the county and NDOT. Some parties may be zero. Some parties may be 100%. I would hope it wouldn't be us. But regardless of who's paying for it, there needs to be the designs completed. And the two roundabouts north of 70, Sunbeam took their consultant. They hired A&F Engineering to do some preliminary designs on those two roundabouts, that intersection configuration. They worked a lot with NDOT on getting that to kind of a preliminary phase. South of 70, off the top of my head, I can't remember the engineer that's working for the developer south of 70. I think it's Kimley Horn. They've done a lot of work on that roundabout that's going to be there at Greencastle Road, Gateway Drive, 39 intersection. At some point, these designs need to be pushed on to a final design. And in order to keep things moving, regardless of who has to pay for construction, somebody needs to trigger the final design. If we want that to be the county, which I think maybe is the direction we're going, I can get both of those firms to give us proposals to complete the design. I think it makes sense to use them. They've done all the upfront work, they've done the preliminary work, they've done work with the developers. They're probably, I'm gonna say 60% or more done with those plans. So I think it makes sense to use those two respective engineers just because of the work they've already done. Obviously, it's all subject to NDOT approvals because it's on 39. It'd be done as what they call a permit project, depending on how they fund their share. But, so there would be a lot of reviews by NDOT to keep it consistent. But I think it makes sense to move ahead with those designs. And if I think it makes sense for the county to take the initiative in getting that done. And I don't have clear funding source for that yet, but first thing we need to do is see what the fees are gonna be. So if you are okay with that, I will proceed with those two firms and get some proposals out. Get the upfront fee proposal, if that makes sense.
You have a consensus
Yeah.
here.
Because these need to be done sooner than later.
So is that in your budget as far as?
I don't have it budgeted, let's see what the fees are, and then go from there. Also, Bob and I think are meeting with Crawfordsville on the 22nd to talk about the intersections, the proposed intersection improvements down on 40 at County Road 0 and at County Road 200 West. Talk about how they can accommodate the ag traffic with their design. Their approach is they can design for anything. So if we have some specifics on the concerns that the farmers have, then they think NDOT staff feels like they can design to accommodate
The
that.
ag community just wants to be heard.
So, this is County Road 0 and County Road,
200 West.
200. At some point, did I not hear that you were thinking about, or NDOT was thinking about moving the stoplight at Cartersburg
Yes.
Road to 400?
Well, no, they're talking about doing the same kind of intersection at Cartersburg that they're talking about at 0 and 200 with the J turn or the split U-turn. I think that's a little farther out than the other two. They're not really talking about that one much. The
It's
other
a
two-
dangerous intersection at 400 with that hill there,
Yeah.
people coming out.
Yeah, and that would be affected by the Cartersburg road change. The actual median would extend past 400, I think. So you would not be able to turn left going up 400.
And Madam President, Jeff Banning posed to John and I, and me, sorry, out there one day to straighten Cartersburg Road out. They could come straight into 400, which isn't a bad idea. Take a lot of work.
Take a lot of work, take a lot of right of way.
A lot, yes, it would.
And a big bridge.
Yeah.
A lot of money too.
The other things are just kind of updates. Bridge 237, we finally got our approvals from the, I said IAA, it's actually FAA, not Indianapolis Airport. We finally got those permits. We have a pre-con, I think today or tomorrow, or not a pre-con, but another progress meeting, so hopefully that's gonna move ahead. Bridge 197 down at the Bat Park, it's been delayed. That was supposed to be open before now, but we had some issues with the deck. They're actually down there this morning grinding the deck, doing some remedial work. Hopefully we get that fixed soon. Schools aren't real happy with us, but we weren't ready to open it yet. Bridge 88 on 200 North is gonna close next Monday. Closure time's 120 days. That's also the date that we plan on closing 237 down on Stafford Road next Monday.
On what road?
Yeah, which road?
That's Stafford Road, Bridge 237 on Stafford Road.
And what was the first one you said?
Bridge 88 on 200 North, west of 400.
Okay. And it'll be closed for 180 days?
120.
120 days, oh, okay.
Through harvest, sorry. Again, we're reviewing our design contracts on Phase 1B of the Parkway, to see what we're gonna need to pay there. We did get an updated construction cost for discussions, for those funding discussions. We have tried to set up a pre-con for the next 2 weeks with Superior for Bridge 290 in Avon. And then you got the copy of the August Appian report, and then a note about Jack and Dan Zerner and I meeting with the West Central Conservancy last week about sewer service for the highway group, which looks like that's not imminent, so we're probably gonna be on something. Okay. We're still keeping that door, I don't, if Jack wants to talk more about it, I'll keep quiet. But we still wanna leave that opportunity open, but for right now, we're gonna move forward.
It's a
as if
long
we-
way to go.
Yeah,
for
we'd
West
have to go over to that new school.
And Danville doesn't have any plans to,
My understanding is Danville's is north of 36, so we'd have to bore under the tracks and bore
Yes.
under 36, which is pretty expensive unless they wanted to bring it down. And I don't know that we've had conversations specifically with Danville yet.
I did have
But Banning did.
discussion with Barry Lofton before that. There was really no support to extend.
well, I know Gordon Graham brings it up every once in a while.
Their usage isn't very high,
No.
really, so it's not a critical thing for them. Someday they need it, they'll need it right now. So that's all I had, unless you have things.
Busy, busy.
Yep, it's good. Kurt, did you have anything you need to add?
I do not.
Todd?
My items don't require any action by you, but I'll be happy to discuss or answer questions if you have it.
So item 4 doesn't require any action?
I would bring it back at your next meeting.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Doug?
Start off with, it did not make it onto my report, but we are currently live on YouTube.
Oh, we are.
Yes, so we got all the equipment installed, the camera installed, and we're doing our test run today, not making a big deal about it. Still continuing to do the Teams meetings for Mila to accommodate her for the next few. Probably, my goal is kind of maybe by the October 1st, we just go exclusively YouTube, but we'll see. So far, everything's been well, been working great. It's about a 10, 15 second, maybe even close to 20-second delay. So I'm kind of monitoring my ear, and I'll hear you guys talking, and about 15, 20 seconds later, we'll hear it. But so far, so good. So it's working well. This will help, again, accommodate the law that they passed last year, HEA 1167. Doesn't truly go into effect until July of 2025, but we just want to get ahead of the game. And this will help us with archiving, meeting requests, stuff like that. So anyway, so far, so good. As far as my report, item 1 was the assessor requested her field personnel to get cell phones for those individuals. I know Phyllis and I had some conversations about that, and she requested some additional information about what the other offices do as well. She stated there's her biggest reasoning for it is they encounter residents in the field, and they would like to have the ability to have a translation app because they sometimes encounter people that do not speak English. So she did not want those individuals having that app on their personal devices. I guess that's probably a good reason. I don't know. I don't know how reliable those apps are anyway when you're kind of walking around with them. They sometimes work spottily, but like I said, we do provide phones for other departments, but because this is a new request, usually I take care of those requests. It's a onesie-twosie. You guys have kind of given me that authority in the past, but this is being a new department, new request. I just want to bring it before you guys.
I just have a couple of questions, like, she's requesting 4 phones.
Correct.
Are all field representatives out at the same time?
I don't know that's the case or not.
Okay, and maybe you can find that out.
Sure, I can clarify with that.
Because if they're not, then maybe it could
There's a
be a
potential for some sharing, sure.
shared phone, because I can understand where the app for,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have other departments that have shared devices,
Yes.
so, I mean, certainly, especially you're right, if they're not in the field at the same time, there's not necessary. They don't tend to they do have laptops, but they don't tend to use them in the field. Her rationale on those was they will use them. They don't necessarily require connectivity. They may use them in the field, but a lot of times they would bring it back to the office or take them back home and do work as well. And then they bring everything back and it syncs up on the network when they reconnect the next day. So it's not like, other departments where we have that they have a cell phone that is also a hotspot that gives them, for instance, planning and building, they have some cell phones. They use that when they're using their remote devices out in the field. Highways, another classic example, they have some tablets with Wi-Fi capability, helps them in the field have that connectivity. I don't necessarily think that's the case for the assessor, but again, I'm just going by what she had sent. So I can kind of touch back
Yeah,
base with her.
if a shared phone would work,
Okay.
We have to watch those dollars.
Sure, I understand. Most definitely. I will follow back up with her and then we'll come back to the next meeting with what she says. Second item is the security awareness training. So again, we had this software for several years. We had been paying for it. It became a offering from the state of Indiana as part of their the infrastructure grant. They got federal funding, so now we use that software through the state at no cost. It's basically training and helps people understand how to spot spam and that kind of stuff. Part of that software gives us the ability to release training videos, usually small 5-8 minute videos, training scenarios that just kind of help users keep that in the aware in their mindset. That's our biggest, unfortunately, that's our biggest security risk as users. Not their fault, it's just that's what the bad players nowadays, they figured that out. I mean, we can put as many firewalls and virus software and anything up, but they know if they can trick a user, that's their easiest way in. So that's consequently what most of the industry is focusing on now is training your users to understand. So anyway, we ran a few campaigns just to kind of test people. We're still compiling that data, but we'll have that available and probably released to department heads just to kind of update. Preliminarily, what I've seen, doing well. Most of our users caught everything. They what we call fish. We have this button on our Outlook that they can click it, sends it to them, and it helps our systems train to recognize that further. Well, part of this training scenario is they get to do that as well, and it kind of records, yes, this person did correctly. Anyway, it looks good. So I'm confident in that our users are pretty good. But the next phase is just to release some training to the staff, to users, just to kind of let them, hey, this is top of mind. Here's some of it is like, here's the latest security scam that the industry is seeing, kind of puts that kind of stuff in mind. So just want to make you aware, we're probably going to start that September 1st, and it'll be like weekly emails sent out to the users just saying, hey, here's the next round of security training, click on it. Ultimately, I know we had just chatted that this may be part of the employee manual to where it's a requirement, because that does hinge back sometimes into your cyber insurance. Is if you're implementing security awareness training and how do I put it? You make it part of your policy that users must do it and not just as by the way, it helps keep your rates down. So that's kind of what we had talked about. Not really there yet, but ultimately we probably need to start looking at that as well as just making it part of the policy, and that has to be done, a requirement.
So how long, if you click on there for the training, how long does it take you to get through it?
Again, 5 to 8 minutes usually. That's the key to this software package is what and the reason the state went with it is it's geared towards a production type environment. Try to keep, you're not sitting there for 45 minutes taking a question and answer.
Right.
That people lose track of that, plus it's not productive. So this is kind of what it's geared. It happens more frequently, but it's always a smaller burst of information. So anyway, just making you aware of that. We're probably, once we get all the information compiled, I'll bring it back to the next meeting, and then we'll probably start pushing those trainings out 1st of September. Third thing on there is relates to the fiber between HRH and Cypress Manor. That's still been on my to-do list. We've hit another wrinkle. Originally, Kevin theorized we could allow HRH to put that fiber into the property along the front of the jail, get it out right away to allow them to run that and get that connectivity quickly so we can move forward with demolishing the jail. That was kind of our last IT hurdle, is the HRH was still using that fiber to communicate to Cypress Manor. That happened. Then Kevin retired, and that was still on a to-do list, which ultimately became my to-do list, is to get that easement written. Well, I spoke with Dave Gaston and tried to understand the process, and we looked, and he said it could be done, but one of the things we realized, that fiber, because it traverses both the jail and then I think there's a stretch of property in between, and then Cypress Manor, there's 3 parcels there. One of those parcels is still county property, but it's listed under the building court. Dave, in his opinion, might be a little messy trying to get that done. I've talked to Gray, and he says, well, it can be done, but it's just one more step. The other thing we theorized is the hospital ran that fiber. We were going to go ahead and what we call locate that fiber. Otherwise, we have all of our fiber that's owned by the county located by a location service. It's part of a maintenance that we pay. So if there's anyone calls 811, says, hey, I'm going to dig over here, our fiber is in their database, and then our company comes out, locates it so they don't dig into it. John and I chatted, and we said, well, it makes sense, since we already locate fiber in that area, we'll just continue to locate it. The hospital doesn't do locations, they just do it on demand. So we theorized that if we're doing that, and if the hospital's agreeable, we would just go ahead and just keep that fiber, since it's still going to a county facility. The hospital was agreeable to that as well. They already paid to have it put in, but we were going to just kind of maintain it. Well, we ran into a hiccup about a month ago where another location service was in the handhold where that fiber is located, didn't realize that fiber was live and cut it. Effectively cutting the communication between the hospital and Cypress Manor. They admitted to it, they knew it was their problem, they they paid to have it fixed, which it is running again. But in the meantime, the company we use inspected that fiber running from kind of what would have been from the jail to the HRH. It is in very bad shape, poor shape. Kind of explains now why we had so much issue with that over the years. So now I've kind of reconsidered if we want to take over that fiber or not. So right now I haven't had an opportunity to speak with the hospital and kind of discuss that. They're aware of the shape of the fiber, but at this point, I'm not sure what our options are. We may just go ahead and move forward with the easement if they're not interested in replacing that fiber, because I definitely don't want that going on the county's side now, because otherwise if something were to happen to that fiber and we were to make an agreement where we would take over it, then we'd obviously be responsible for fixing it. And I don't necessarily think we want to do that right now. So anyway, that's still kind of unfortunately up in the air, but I just want to bring you up to date on that. That kind of went through that quick. Any questions on that? Everything's fine, everything's working.
Yeah.
We were able to get it repaired, but it is something that we need to, I'll once I get everything put together, I'll kind of bring it back and just kind of explain what we're going to do. Still working on it. And then last thing is an update on the corner. That building is, I know it's Jack's bane as well. We were putting Comcast in there. They came in yesterday to do it, and they found out that somewhere in the process of either installing the chiller, the cooler, the freezer, or something in the parking lot, the cable was cut. So they're bringing a construction company in to run new cable out to the building, then we'll get internet installed. So we're kind of on pause with that.
Comcast is going to do that.
Yes, that will be on Comcast's dime. I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, they determine how it was cut. I don't know. It's happened in the past where we've had that issue with the highway department where we've brought cable down. They'll send us a bill every once in a while. But for the most part, it's probably just the cost of them doing business. So, but that has put a delay on it. Now, they're optimistic they're going to get it done today. I'm less than optimistic, but we'll see. But potentially that could delay us a little bit further because obviously we can't do nothing in that building without internet. So that's an update on that. I thought that was going to be because I thought the body shop was using Comcast, but apparently they use a different internet. But how it came into the building and how it ran into our area, and that was going to be very simple. But yeah, unfortunately, if it's not working outside, it doesn't work that way. So anyway, that's all I have. Do you have anything for me?
No?
You guys are all famous now.
Oh.
They'll be asking for your,
Well, we
autograph.
just have to make sure that John parts his hair in the right place.
Correct, correct.
I said the same to Dave Gaston too.
Welcome to the world of the coroner's office.
Oh, my goodness.
We're getting close, so we've got a possible date of 9/13. Things move forward, things go backwards, but that's a date that we're hinging everything on right now. So, jail demo's going great, great job, great contractor, great site. Everything's, I wish they were all that way.
Dan Zermer commented on it before our meeting.
Very good. It's just one of those jobs. GSF is on process of getting familiar, making those arrangements. I'm excited about that when that gets up and running. I think we'll see a great improvement. They've been great to work with so far. I think we've accommodated all their needs and pretty much been to every site. It is a little unique that they have their own website, or if you have a complaint or anything, you go through their dispatch. So anybody can do that, and then they address the issue. We don't have to do that. They use that for part of their monitoring of how they're doing on their job sites. I mean, so once we get a little bit closer, that'll be sent to everybody. If they've got an issue, they go directly to them and they address it.
So if Nancy has a light bulb out, she just goes to their website and says she has a light bulb out?
Light bulb would be us. Do you have a light bulb out? But
No.
anyway, we try to stay on top of that. But no, if there's something didn't get cleaned, trash, or something got missed, on the custodian side, they will address it. Child support, they're occupied. The prosecutor investigators are getting ready to move in the basement, possibly this weekend or this Friday, Monday, one of the two. We're working on finishing that up. So that'll be good to get them relocated. And groundskeeping, I'm looking at a blanket contract type situation. Like I discussed a little bit with Phyllis, and sort of similar with what the hospital does. And same contractor, so we're close, so trying to get those numbers back. I did get some numbers that just before I came to the meeting on finishing up all of our swipe cards in this building. It will help us with the janitorial and access and everything, so I'll be bringing that up in the near future. So. Any other
Anything for
questions?
Jack?
Yes, thank you.
We can take you for a tour at the coroner's office if you want to go.
Can we wait?
It's moving forward, so it's really good, but something happens every day, so. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our staff reports. Commissioners.
Madam President, Commissioner Dawes and I had a conversation, and I had a conversation with Nancy, that we would kind of like to see, respectfully request that the redevelopment commission have some kind of a regular schedule, because people who want to access those meetings don't know when. Even some of the members struggle if they're traveling to find, hey, I'm gonna have to adjust my schedule, I wanna be at that meeting. And I just would respectfully ask that they have a regular schedule, and they can cancel them if they don't need them, but have something that the public can follow, because right now, I can't follow it.
Is that something that the commissioners need to decide
Well, it's
when they
under-
meet?
Nancy said it's our
Yeah.
deal.
So then we determine when they're going to meet, and it could be put on our website?
Well, right, what they can determine, but just have it scheduled so people can see it a week or two ahead of time instead of 48 hours. Boom,
They do have a calendar of the third Monday of each month.
they do.
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays. But we never know until 48 hours before whether there's gonna be business or not. So then it gets canceled or called.
Well, Phyllis
mean,
just made.
It's just really,
a good
it's
point.
just a,
How do we get the word out? They put it on our website. Hey, there is going to be a meeting so people can follow, because one of the complaints I had was, well, we read the Danville Republican religiously, but, I mean, you gotta have a magnifying glass and know, you gotta be an attorney to figure out what it applies to.
They can go to
So
our
we have.
website. They can go to our website.
Okay,
I
there
assume.
you go.
That was what I
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's
And
all I
if
got.
it doesn't get canceled on the website, then you got people coming,
Right.
so there's,
Right.
there's problems either way you do it, but they do have regularly scheduled
Okay.
meetings if,
That's all I got.
but I just asked if we were gonna have a meeting on whatever the next one is, I haven't heard. It's the third Wednesday, which is next week, I
That's all.
guess.
Okay,
So-
Jenny?
Nothing.
I had down that, I had a lot of communication with the folks from Brownsburg about the annexation and the zoning, and what I heard a while ago was maybe they did a little backwards, they did the zoning and then the annexation. But I think Mr. Murphy and Mr. Wyeth have addressed that and answered some of the questions I had. The other thing is that Brownsburg resident Chloe Diger
Yeah.
received a gold medal and brought some fame to Brownsburg and Hendricks County. And the other thing is that performance reviews are due in August. So we need to make a decision as to when we might do this so that Mila can schedule them. My thought was, our next meeting, we don't have sewer board, so we could possibly start, if the commissioners' meetings go smooth, we could possibly start 11 o'clock or something like that,
Do it.
That's fine.
okay? Well, that was easy. Ed Schreier gave me an easy button, and it's in my desk. I should have it right here. That was easy. That's all I have. Anybody else have anything? Yes, sir.
Members of the council, I'd like to thank you for your timely and active stance that you took in regards to residents' concerns for Brownsburg. Your professional conduct in this matter is a stark contrast to what we see locally. And I didn't say that publicly on the record earlier, so I would say, what should I have said? I need to say thank you for doing what you're doing.
Well,
We may not get the outcome that we want, but a lot of it is just kind of doing your job, so thank you
being
for
there,
doing it.
yes. And I appreciate you saying that, and I'm sure my
you,
colleagues
folks, yeah,
do as
yeah.
well.
Thank you.
And Mr. Stowell stepped up also, so
Thank you.
thank you. Nothing further, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
We do have sewer board, Bob.